Hello Somerville, my name's Ed Halloran and welcome to another episode of the Somerville Labor Show. I'm here on Summer and Craigie Street at the Morse-Kelley Pollinator Habitat Garden, as you can see here. And we're doing something completely different that we haven't done, and we should have done this a long time ago. And we're going to talk about climate change. And climate change is really something that's pretty interesting when it comes to plants and biodiversity and native plants. I had no idea about these native plants up until about 3 years ago. Tori Antonino has educated me a little bit on it, and certainly Lee over at SST has educated me on this as well. And native plants in this one particular area is incredibly important. So we're here at Morse-Kelley Pollinator Garden. It's located on Craigie Street, and it was created, and it's a magnificent place. It was created at the Green Open Somerville, created through CPA grant with the city in November 2016. And we are here, and we're joined by Tori Antonino, also part of this labor show episode, Native Plants. We recently videotaped the Nature Conservation Organization Earthwise Aware, the Somerville Community Growing Center, as they surveyed the interactions of native plants and the insects that visit them. Also, I want to mention that we videotaped a home garden tour on Lexington Avenue featuring many native plants given by residents Bill Bennett and Jonathan Rich, both long associated with the Somerville Garden Club. All right, so thank you so much for doing it. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
This is something that we haven't done, and there's a lot of traffic going by, and there's a lot of action here. It's very cool. I've never actually walked around and taken a look at all the plants you have here.
Yeah.
But the beauty of this whole thing for me is that these plants are native plants.
Absolutely.
And I did a little study on it, like I always do for these shows.
You come prepared.
Well, I come prepared, but I may not be as prepared as you think. That's why you're here. You're the expert, not me. So thanks for agreeing to be on the show.
Mm-hmm.
So what brought your attention to the pollinator garden? When did this whole thing start?
So about 14 years ago now, I had a change in careers, and I decided I want to be outdoors and in the earth, and so I decided I wanted to be a landscaper. So I started working with a company out in sort of west of Boston, and they worked in big, properties in Lexington and Lincoln and Wayland and Weston, and I thought I was doing the Lord's work. I was there.
It was curb appeal?
It was.
Was that what it was?
This, you'll like this. I was there with my leaf blower, blowing leaves every September, mowing lawns, thinking I'm helping things.
Was it a gas leaf?
Oh, gas leaf, extra gas, extra gas.
As much fossil fuel as possible. I love it.
And in the spring, we'd get these, 10-yard deliveries of mulch, and I'm just putting all the bunches of mulch down in the garden and cutting back every last plant, and oh, it looks so neat, and what a great job we've done. I'm doing such great things. Yeah. Groomed, right? And then I meet my mentor. His name is David Falk. Mm-hmm. He lives right on Spring Hill, and he is a horticulturalist at Garden in the Woods. Okay. And he basically informed me that everything that I've been doing and thought I was doing good is like the exact opposite of what we need to be doing. We don't need to be blowing the leaves away. That's what builds soil. Right. That's where insects overwinter. That's what is capturing carbon. Right. That's what's really helping the earth to, that's nature's way of creating new life. So when you take away leaves, you're taking away all this nutrients from the soil. You're removing a huge cycle of that. And then of course, if you're blowing leaves, you're, stinky diesel fuels or into the atmosphere. And
well, that's why we're having this conversation, because you're here to educate us on this. I really do. I think it's really important.
Yeah.
Because let me tell you this. Every show that we do, something comes up about climate change. It's always, I'm like, because I said I'll do a labor show and I'll see the happen and see how it goes. Yeah. And then all of a sudden someone says, climate change, it's really, really vital. It's important. There's a lot of green jobs out there. Yeah. There's a lot to be done. Yeah. And it's great. And I'm like, okay, so let's talk about it. Yeah. I'm going to find out more about it. So every single show, it's always the same thing. Yeah. It's not just about fossil fuel anymore, right? And this biodiversity issue is something that I'm like learning quickly on.
And I'm glad you are, because it's kind of getting second billing right now.
Right.
Because, this creates biodiversity, and our biodiversity starts with our plants that support the insects that support all the other creatures higher up in the ecosystem. And pollinators, of course, pollinate our crops. And it's like these little creatures, the ones that are most at risk, are the ones that we can actually support here in our cities.
And we need to do that because it'll help us, right? And long term, it's going to help us because, I think a lot of people talk about getting ill and getting sick and not feeling well. A lot has to do with what's going on with climate change.
Yeah.
Because all these things are being destroyed, right?
Yeah.
They're just falling apart, and people think that they're doing the right thing. They don't know. We just came through 3 or 4 years of COVID.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
I mean, the weather has been insanely wet, right? I mean, the Earth is heating up quicker than we anticipated.
Yep.
Right? It's happening very fast.
Yep.
And I think people are coming around a little more, getting more educated on matter.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, tell me, native plants. What do they mean in the area that we live in the Northeast?
In the Northeast. Okay. Well, if we're talking about, we want to get real sort of technical, we could say 1491. Things that were here before the sort of European invasion, before colonization, that is what would be considered native to an area. But even that might not be exactly true, because plants like corn and maize, that wasn't native to here. That was actually a crop that was from more central United States. That's what I read recently.
Mm-hmm.
So don't quote me, but I read it. So,
okay.
So things like the native peoples here manipulated the environment in a way that was not as detrimental as us bringing plants over from, across the ocean. But, humans have managed it. But let's just say 1491 would be considered plants that are native to the area, pre-Columbus.
Mm-hmm.
Now I would say that I still feel that plants that are in this Northeast region could be considered native
Well, think
to
about
this area.
let's think about this, right? People who came over here from outside,
Yeah.
they bring their customs, they bring, and you know what I'm saying? And then, of course, the plants that they had, things that they did over there. So that's probably how things, I'm just thinking, how that all came about. But I can give you a little science time there.
Oh, yeah, let's have science time.
Let's do a little science time, all right? Because I'm here to discuss this, and I want to try and get into it if I can.
Yeah.
So as you can see, Director Greg Hill here has moved us around so you can get a beautiful look at some of these native plants that we have back here. What are we sitting on here, by the way?
So we are sitting on an artist who lives across the street, and I forget her name now. They're these mushroom resin, and I forget the materials that she uses, but there's
Very
some
cool.
at the growing center.
Yeah, I love
They're
them.
pieces of art.
Yeah.
And we had we wanted to support the arts in this little CPA project.
I think it makes perfect sense.
Isn't
I
it
love
lovely?
it. I do. I think
Little
it's great.
stumps.
I want to put one of these in my backyard.
Yeah.
If I can. Okay, so Northeast Native Plant Primer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Look at everybody's a genius when they go on the internet.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Luckily I pulled this stuff off of there, and I really appreciate it. So the following excerpt is adapted from Uli Larmer's book, The Northeast Native Plant Primer.
Yep.
All right. You know who that is?
Oh yeah, he's at Garden in the Woods. I have his book.
All right.
He works with David.
Okay, well there
Yeah.
we go. So, so what is a native plant? What defines a native plant? This is a question of context and scale. At the continental scale, a Colorado blue spruce would be considered a native plant for northeastern gardens. It is hardy here and will grow without too much fuss. But just because it can grow here does not mean that naturally occurs here. Okay, so it does not occur here. So in the next paragraph he says, Northeast native plants naturally grow within the Northeast and were present before European settlement began. They came to exist in our region by their own means or via introduction by indigenous people because of their use as food, fiber, medicine, or ritual. I would add another important dimension to the definition of native plants, namely, these plants have co-evolved and are codependent with the insects, birds, and wildlife of our region to create a garden that bursts with life. You must include the plants that these organisms need. So, how do you define the Northeast region? The simplest answer is to list the states that traditionally make up the Northeast. Those are Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, New York, Pennsylvania, and New Jersey. And in conclusion, however, from a plant's perspective, the boundaries that define these states are arbitrary. Their ranges are distributions of native plants and are defined by a combination of geology, soils, hydrology, and interactions with wildlife disturbances and plant succession. That sound like a good one to you? What do you think?
Well, that's why he's the director of Garden in the Woods.
I'm the producer. But that's what we got.
That's great.
Wait till we get the biodiversity. Then we're going to love that once we get there. Okay. And so I want to go back a little bit, and I think we're going to get off these things shortly because and then we're going to take a little walk because I want to see what's going on here. All right. So tell me why you think, we just heard why their existence is so vital. What does it mean to you? Same? Similar?
Oh, I mean, just that all of our existence, our being humans and everyone in the animal kingdom, their existence is based on plants, because plant supports insects, and then all the way up the food chain. Basically, insects are the basis of the food chain.
So the pollinating part of the whole thing, that is the key, right?
It goes in. So native plants do a couple of things. They host insects. Means, like, for example, the monarch butterfly gets top billing on this. Milkweed hosts the monarch butterfly. If you don't have milkweed in your yard, the monarch butterfly does not exist.
They're not showing.
It can only lay its eggs, and those caterpillars can have defenses against the toxicity of milkweed, because all plants are toxic. They have evolutionarily, have these mechanisms that allows them to eat it. So you remove milkweed from the environment, no more monarchs. The importance that plants are host plants is that baby bugs and, let's say, baby butterflies, which are also caterpillars, feed baby birds. Baby birds can't be eating seeds. They can't. They're like, need soft, squishy, like protein, fat-packed, like morsels, and those are insects.
This is all making so much sense to me now, because I've got birds that come every year in my yard. Yeah. They have a nest. Yeah. Right. I don't know if it's the same birds, right? But they seem very comfortable there. Yeah. They make their nest. They might be, couple times they have little babies, right? And they do their thing. So I think that seems to make a lot of sense. Yeah. To me, so the environment. So without having plants around, like oaks, for example, host over 500 different, what we call lepidoptera, which are butterflies and moths. And so the importance of butterflies and moths, they are pollinators when they're flying about, when they're winged, but when they're in their larval form, they are a huge food source for, small mammals, birds, other insects. Like, it's that plants are host plants for insects is sort of a missing component, because it's not just about the pollinators that we need because they feed our plants, it's about the basis of the food chain. So what I want to do is I want to see, when we get around to it here, right? Sure. Because I have in my backyard that attracts bees and butterflies, obedient. Yeah, good one. Wild asters, which you have here as well, right? Number one. Honeysuckle. Do you have honeysuckle here? We don't have it here, but make sure it's the coral honeysuckle and not the japonica, not the white. What is it? The non-native is that white, fragrant, really wonderful one. The reddish orange. Yeah, the reddish orange is called coral honeysuckle. Is that okay? Yeah, that's okay. Laniceris sempervirens. I feel good about myself already. Good. You're doing the Lord's work. How about what's Phylos? I have no idea what that is. P-H-I-L-O-S. I think you're making that up. I probably did. Okay. So here's what I did, right? I also did something else. I also Well, Greg did it. I didn't.
Yeah.
Greg got me a clip on Blossom 25 because we always have to get anything that we do. We have to like make sure that we give them credit.
Yep.
Right. And you were on
I
with
was.
another lady. What was that lady's name?
Louisa Oliveira.
Is
So
she from-
Louisa is head of public space and urban forestry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
at the-
Where is that? Is that here?
Yep, at City Hall.
Oh, cool.
Yep.
I never had a chance to meet her. So you're going to have a pollinator action plan that's going to be introduced. What is it? What do you think it is? Do we know yet?
We have an idea. We want a plan for Somerville to allow our pollinators to not just thrive in our spaces, but to have connectivity. So that so right now we have tons of native plants here along like a 115-foot strip by 15 feet wide. Well, where do they go when they get to the end of the sidewalk and they want to go a little further? What if they can only, what if they hop? Where's the next place they go? So we have to figure out how spaces get connected, even if it's an insect size space that we need to connect. So for example, we could start with, there's a few medians there that are, keep getting cut back. All our tree wells can be places that would provide connectivity. Backyards.
Wow.
So the idea is to keep our pollinators safe, keep them connected, and also to be able to provide private homeowners with, here's the list of the plants that you get, and here's where you get them.
Educating the public is really important. I get the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
I do. But if you look at the trees and you look at the tree wells, right? They're used for so many different things, right? They're not always the best, as you know. And I love animals, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But, also, what if somebody says, these are weeds, I'm going to cut them? So I've seen the way they put trees in now, right? And it talks about, like the trees talking to me saying something like, please water me, please take care of me.
Right,
whatever.
adopt me.
So things like that, I think it's kind of cool, actually.
Yeah.
But when I see it, because I'm saying to myself, well, yeah, now you're educating me. Now you're telling me what I need to know.
Yeah.
Because okay, that's not a weed. I won't pull it out.
Yes.
All right, so that makes a lot of sense to me.
Exactly.
All right.
And having little kits, not kits as in like having things to give homeowners, like here's what goes in a street tree well. Here's the plants you plant. Anyway.
Now you're good because you'll lead me into my next question.
I looked down there. I saw it.
You did?
No,
you didn't.
No,
Okay,
I didn't.
All right, we're back after Greg has relocated us again and moved us, I guess, so we can get a better look at the garden and some of the things that are going on around us. I guess I have a question, right? So if I wanted to have some native plants, I had a small area.
Okay.
Because you just talked about that, right? Small little areas moving around.
Yeah.
What would I do? What plants could I get that are native and move and put them someplace where they tend to grow right? They really get,
Yeah.
So they go dormant in the wintertime, don't they?
They do. And you want to leave them outside. I mean, they'll go dormant. So
if I have a pot or a planter, like one of those long ones right there, that I put on my railing, right?
Yep.
What could we put in? Just what do you think we could do?
Okay, I would say because you want it to bloom long, you want it to look pretty for yourself and for the pollinators because you have a limited space. I would say do echinacea, do black-eyed Susans. I could do this, pink-yellow combo.
Yep.
I would do a butterfly weed, which is you want to do milkweed. So butterfly weed has an orange blossom, and it blooms all summer, and it's kind of shorter, so it would be good. Let's say if it were like a hanging basket or like a window box.
Echinacea, I love it.
Echinacea's.
Can I ask you a question?
Oh, please.
Can you use echinacea at all?
There's echinacea tea.
I know, but I'm saying, if you plant it, can you use it?
To
something?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. I can't.
Well, it's supposed to be really good for your immunity.
Yeah, right. That's
okay. All right. Well, thank you for that.
Yes. And blue mist flower.
Blue mist flower. Okay.
That's
so where can residents purchase the varieties of native plants locally?
So the main nursery you can go to is in Framingham. It's called Garden in the Woods. It's an amazing place. It's an all native plant sort of sanctuary.
Garden in the Woods.
Garden in the Woods in Framingham.
Let me write that down.
Yeah. But the other thing to pay attention to is your local native plant sales that happen a lot around this. There's some happening now. I know that the Cambridge, it might have been the Somerville Garden Club. They do twice a year. They do native plant sales. They don't always have natives, but oftentimes they do.
Okay.
But so.
What about someone who's local
Yep.
and really can't get out to Pollinator? Right? They can't.
Yep.
And as you know, this city right now is 4.1 square miles, so we've got about 100,000 people living in the city right now, and now we have a lot of people walking, a lot of people biking.
Yep.
We've got the T, the orange, the green, we've got the red line.
Yeah.
So we have access to go to certain places too.
Right.
So I think that hopefully we can find more places that will have, where we can go to get native plants.
Yeah. I think again with this pollinator action plan, part of the plan is to have sort of yearly giveaways. Oh, we're having the Urban Forestry Committee that I serve on.
Yeah.
We'll be at Strike Up the Bands.
At the Haunt Festival?
Well, no, at the Summer Streets Festival this coming Sunday.
That's tomorrow. Yeah, that's coming up.
So we have we're giving away Rebecca Triloba, which is a brown-eyed Susan, and two other plants.
Okay. Brown-eyed Susan. I like
brown-eyed
that.
Susan.
I don't know how they got that brown-eyed Susan.
Yeah, and grape blue lobelia, which is another works
that.
really good in a window box.
Okay, so I'm not gonna name anything.
Okay, just the other thing is you can also there's catalogs that you can send plants. You can send away for plants like Prairie Moon Nursery. That's a big one. There's also New England wetland plants that you can order plants from. Sometimes you need a minimum order, but if you hit up some of your neighbors and be like, I'm gonna order 6 flats of plants, and so
it's like a starter kit.
It's a starter
kit.
Like
a starter kit.
Yeah.
That's what I should have said.
Yeah,
starter
exactly.
kit. I like that.
Yeah.
So Lee, who is I like her so much. She's great. She does a lot of work with us. It's almost been together doing all of that.
Yeah.
I went last year. We did we marched in the contest.
Yes.
Were you with her there?
In her costume?
She was dressed like a bee. Just to let you know.
her tape, her masking tape.
Yeah, you know what though? Look at you gotta do what you gotta do to get the message out there,
get
right?
it out there, yeah.
And I thought it was very, very cool.
Oh, yeah.
So let's do this. Why don't we take a little walk, right? Because I think it's important that we do this. And because I want to talk about just a few more things. So Greg, can we take a walk and have Tori show us some of these plants? I don't know if you have milkweed or whatever.
We have milkweed. I want to show the goldenrod because it is just covered in pollinators now.
All right, Greg, we're going to take a walk.
You got it.
Well, okay, we're back. Me and Terry are back. We've got another adjustment over here. Tell me what this is because these bees look like they're getting intoxicated. What is this?
This is, I'm going to forget it now. I believe it's blue stem goldenrod, but I could be wrong.
We'll hold you to it.
Yes.
It's okay.
And this is a powerhouse for our bees for late season food foraging. And it's also our #2 plant for being a host plant that we talked about earlier.
Okay.
A plant that supports different types of insects. So right now there are, I see several honeybees. I see a whole bunch of bumblebees. I see a locust borer beetle, which is a very interesting critter. But these are just covered.
Can you zoom in on that? Mr. Cameraman?
Mr. Cameraman. Oh, I just saw the locust borer beetle.
Very cool.
It's just amazing. If you plant it, they will come. As soon as you plant something like this, if you plant an aster in your yard, you're going to have this banquet and
they show up.
If they show up,
and
it's a feast for the eyes and the ears, and you can then get connected to these creatures because they're not interested in you. They're not going to sting you.
I have a question about that.
Tell me.
Okay, about bees, and the reason why I have a question about it is because I noticed at this particular time of the year, right now, September into October, right, I've noticed that bees become a little aggressive. They do, and I'll tell you why, because every time I've gotten stung by a bee, it's always in the autumn.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
I don't know why they sting me, but it can't. It's not gonna.
So
I'm fine.
Yeah,
I mean, but
it's
what is
so
it? Do you know
well.
what it is?
I know that wasps around this time of year, some insects overwinter, and some die. Some, like wasps, they work to feed. They do now. Let me just. You'll edit this.
Yeah.
Because now I'm like,
That's okay.
shoot.
That's okay. I'm wondering why they do that.
I think a lot of them are dying and hungry, and wasps in particular, like.
What about this?
Yeah.
Did you ever think? I'm just thinking about it because I've seen bees covered in pollen.
Yeah.
Right. When I say covered, like yellow, they change their color completely. Right.
Yeah.
So I've seen that.
Yeah.
Is it possible that they're getting intoxicated from it?
Oh, if they're getting drunk?
Yeah, you think? That's possible. I don't know. I mean, it looks like an intoxication to me. They're having a party
I
over
know.
there.
They're having a party.
Yeah. So let's move on to another plant.
Oh yeah, the goldenrod. It's not a weed.
Let's go. We can either go down here towards Lowell, if you like.
Yeah, let's go down.
All right, let's go down here.
Yeah,
I'd like to see some. I want to see some. You have milkweed?
Yeah, I want to.
All right, here we are again. Now, Tori, do me a favor, please.
Sure.
This is really beautiful.
Thank you.
Tell me what is this plant right here? Because it's covered with bees again.
Yep. So this plant that's covered with bees, that's our New England aster.
New England.
And it's interesting. When it gets pollinated, it goes from having those yellow centers to having this darker colored center. So that's cues the bees to say, okay, no, pollination is all done.
Okay.
So that's another powerhouse plant. It's gorgeous. It gets tall. It pairs really well with the bonus set there, the eupatorium in the back.
What is the white one back here?
That's the bonus set. It's a eupatorium, and I forget the last name.
Oh, so it's very pretty.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah, I love it.
It's a bit aggressive, but if you pair it with something else that's aggressive, like your New England aster, you're gonna get this, which is a feast for the bees and for ourselves.
Nothing like being out in the street. That's all I can tell you, right?
Yeah. This is
everything's organic here today. Just to let you know.
And this is a tree. This is called a sassafras.
Sassafras.
Yeah.
I like that.
It's normally an understory tree in the forest. It likes the shade, so we think it's going to be a tree that's going to be able to survive in the city. So this is we have one there and one here.
And it's a sassafras.
It's a sassafras.
And it's to this area here.
Yeah, it's native. Yeah.
Really? No kidding.
Yeah.
Okay. What do we have here? Is that the same as this
That's the same as that back there.
Where's the milkweed? I gotta have
Here's your milkweed here.
All right.
This is what it looks like this time of year. Let's see if we have a pod. Yeah, we got some pods here.
Okay.
You see those? Those two big pods? That's full of milkweed seeds, and that'll open up. Yeah.
And then what happens? They just run out?
They'll open up, and the way they travel is that they fly. They have these little silks that when they explode, they just.
Is that this time of the year in autumn?
Yeah, they'll do it. They'll burst open. Some of them have probably burst open already.
That's amazing.
Oh, it's fascinating. Here.
So is this what the butterflies?
So this is what the monarchs need. So basically, each seed is on an individual silk.
Okay.
And then those silks will dry out, and you can sort of see how they'll dry out, and then they'll float on the wind with the seeds. And actually, during World War II, they used the milkweed silks to make flotation devices.
Wow.
Yeah, because
so the monarch. This is you don't have this.
You don't have this plant.
No monarchs.
No monarchs.
They're not coming.
No way.
They're not coming to the party.
Not at all.
Okay, I get that.
Never.
Exactly.
I mean, maybe they'll feed. If you have an aster, they'll feed, nectar. But they're not going to lay their eggs.
Wow, I've seen these before too.
Yeah.
Pretty amazing.
Oh, they're like from another planet. No, it's from our planet.
It's native.
It's native. We got these beautiful plants.
How about a couple more? Tori, the goldenrod, this is something that you've been talking a lot about. What is its main purpose?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And why do we need this?
Well, Solidago has two main purposes. I'd say number one is that it's the second most It hosts the second most Lepidoptera of any of our herbaceous plants. Number one is the aster. And again, hosting means the ability for it to support insect life, not just feeding, but for caterpillars to feed on their leaves, for it to keep safe certain animals. I mean, but it supports Lepidoptera, and then it supports Lepidoptera by feeding them. So the flowers are nectar for all the bees and butterflies and other insect life that we see.
So the goldenrod, is this like one of the super plants?
Super plants, super aster
okay.
and goldenrod. If you had for herbaceous plants, by herbaceous plants I mean not trees, not shrubs, just things that die back every year, but are very, very important for.
I don't want to go off and say it's like steroids almost, but it's a super plant.
It's a super plant.
Yeah, I love it.
It's a super.
All right, Tori, tell me what this is right here.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that right there is your calico aster. It is just a different variety of asters. Again, aster and goldenrods, your 1 and 2 plants for herbaceous powerhouses. And these are the ones that'll be blooming through October. Certain of our asters, this one here, Aster laevis, has not even started blooming. So these are the plants that give you that late time bloom. And
Okay.
it's beauty, but it's food for our pollinators, especially our migrating monarchs.
Okay, how about this? Echinacea.
Oh, there we are.
Can we take a look? I love echinacea. I used to take it. It's really good for me.
It's good for you.
Yeah. Can you zoom in on that over here, Greg? It's the pink flower, right?
Yeah, it's a pink flower. These are ones that I would recommend if you're trying to, start off with some native plants that are really going to be blooming a long time. You leave the seed head. So some people come along and will cut everything back to the ground. Don't cut your plants back to the ground. Those seed heads will feed finches and other birds, chickadees during the winter time. Those are our bird feeders, not the things that we hang in the trees. We leave.
So do we cut anything back, or
nothing.
we just let it grow?
No. So nothing gets cut back here.
We let it go.
We let it go.
Okay.
Maybe in April or May, David and I will come here and try to make it look a little nicer.
Maybe clean up a little. Yeah.
But no. I mean, look at this guy. Do you see that little guy there? Little spider guy. I mean, that's what life is.
Like a little cocoon.
Little cocoon.
Yeah.
And that's another.
All right. Just a couple more. What do we got here?
Oh, that's our evening primrose.
Evening primrose.
Evening primrose. So it's flowering right now. It has these yellow flowers. It's pretty aggressive, but these will feed birds. Once those go to seed, you will start seeing birds all over this plant.
Unbelievable.
It's amazing.
Well, I'll tell you right now, I am impressed. And when I drive by, it looks nice, right? But I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Most people have no idea what it is. But I think that Summer Media Center and YouTube is going to actually, give some attention to this, because I think people really need to know what's going on here and why people are so passionate about it. Because you are.
I am. This is my livelihood. This is my passion. This is like my joie de vivre and raison d'etre right now.
Let me ask this question. I asked this question to another guest that I had on the show.
Okay.
I had Mary Cassesso on the show. I have a lot of guests on the show all the time. And I talk to them and I say to them, you know what? Not that you're older. I'm older for sure. I know that.
I'm a middle-aged woman.
All right.
I can say that, right?
I'm probably a little more than, I'm looking for the fountain of middle age. Anyway, how do we bring in and usher in younger people, right, to come and do this and help us and help you to get more of this, because this is important, right? This is something that I think is in your sweet spot. Something you really want, right?
Something I really.
So tell me in a briefly, if that's possible. What are we doing? What are we going to do here?
Well,
what is your thought in bringing young people in to actually introduce them to doing this?
Well, I mean, what was helpful this summer was we had the Mayor's Jobs program, and we trained them in ecological restoration, in invasives removal. There are about 10 of them. What I really wanted was to get some of the DPW kids, because they have that summer program, and to get them interested.
Yeah.
But what I see, these are green jobs. These are green jobs for people who are in the DPW now.
I'm with you.
You know what I'm saying? This doesn't have to just be for kids I want our crews being able to, feeling confident, being able to identify plants. They're going to need training, and they deserve to be paid for that training.
Thank you. The pay parts, I love that.
No.
So we have a gardener, one gardener in the grounds division. So we need many more gardeners.
Many more gardeners, and that is a skilled position. That is a skilled position.
100%.
And, we just.
It's not just putting these little flowers on an island to look pretty.
No, because what we're doing, we're putting things on islands and then we're contracting out, and then they're not even getting maintained anyway. And so you have, I won't get into it, but it upsets me
Thank you, though.
when I see really capable people here who are passionate about being in Somerville, who are doing the hard work, I think they're ready.
We're ready for the green job.
Yeah.
We're ready to move into the future because the future is already passing us.
Happening. Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Well, you know what? I want to thank you for everything that you're doing here. And this is wonderful. And I know this isn't where your work stops. I know there's other places, other things that you're doing. I mean, we could probably do like 10 parts on this whole thing.
Oh yeah, I have other gardens throughout the city.
Yeah, no, I know you do. I know you do.
We can spend the
You have your hands full. You get your hands full of native plants and soil.
I do.
You're up to your neck in them. I know.
That is, yeah.
All right, so we're going to close out the show, and I have to close it out with just a little something about what is biodiversity. All right, so we're going to close out the show with something that's really important here, and biodiversity. You have a little, a little bit about biodiversity.
Yeah, biodiversity is just the amount of the many different creatures that exist on our planet, and how important it is that if you have more biodiversity in your environment, you have a healthier ecosystem that's is much more likely to survive than when you have little biodiversity. And some people think, well, biodiversity just means the different types of trees you have, or the different types of insects, that's one type of biodiversity. Another type of biodiversity is what a single plant, for example, an oak, the biodiversity that if you plant an oak, how many insects, critters will live in that oak. So there's a few different definitions, but I'm curious to what you found out.
What I found out from worldwildlife.org.
Sure.
Creating biodiversity in our backyards, which is kind of important. A good argument could be made for the statement, no place on earth is untouched by humans. Some places may not be directly impacted by our presence, yet certainly they are influenced indirectly through climate change, pollution, and introduced species, which are all results of human activity. Furthermore, concept of wilderness being separate from humans no longer stands up to scrutiny. We must envision a future in which wild creatures of all shapes and sizes are afforded space in our built environment. Gardens are and need to become habitats for animal life, and in addition to positive environments for humans, we're as much part of nature as the bird, the bee, the butterfly. All we need to do is to meet basic needs of ecological function so the diverse life can flourish. Although creating habitats in our gardens may not be a perfect approach, it is one that we can influence for better or greater ecosystem. And we've been talking about the ecosystem, so I mean, the good news, what's the good news here? So, well, the good news is that, we can start doing these things. It's really important.
And Ed, right here in the city, that's the thing. Cities can become, we can be safe havens for insect biodiversity, I know we hate our rats, but imagine if we had chipmunks running around here. I bet we'd have a lot fewer, people would be putting out fewer rat traps.
No, I know.
But birds, and the reason cities are going to be sanctuaries is because we're not spraying tons and tons of pesticides. We're not in a rural area where we're spraying pesticides. We're not in the suburbs where people are spraying all their lawns twice a week to get rid of mosquitoes.
Yeah.
We are in a very particular place that we can do just in our backyards, in our, remnants of parks, in our sidewalks. We're gonna be the safe haven for these creatures. And people think, oh, it's a city, what are you gonna do? You're 4 square miles.
Well, you are with 100,000 people on it.
We got 100,000 people. We've got a lot of space on top of those roofs. We got a space and cracks in the sidewalk. A lot of cracks in the sidewalk.
We call that thinking outside the box, right?
Yep.
We certainly do that. Also, they're putting solar panels underneath where there's parking now. You know, parking garages outside. I think that's wonderful, it's fantastic. So here's the clincher. I guess the end of it here is where all hope is not lost, right? Despite all of this, our ecosystems and their biodiversity are not entirely beyond repair.
Yeah.
With a move towards sustainable consumption and production and the proper effort to tackle the climate change, there's a way back. Efforts to restore ecosystems including rewilding, replanting native trees, reintroducing native species of animals, and leaving nature to take its course, and more active interventions to restore and manage ecosystems. The same applies to the Earth's oceans and coasts, where sustainable fishing, pollution management, and restoration of coral reefs and mangrove swamps can restore biodiversity. In cities, stricter planning laws, proper cleaning of farmer industrial sites, tree planting, and the introduction of more green spaces and wetlands can also have positive effects. So with every story, there's a happy ending. I like happy endings, right?
This is one that I hang on to, because if you do it in a single season, you will see results. If you plant an aster or a milkweed, you will see the results like that. You don't have to wait years and years for it. And if I give this to you, this milkweed, would you want to plant that in your yard?
Are you kidding?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I like milkweed.
Isn't that beautiful?
I'm very cool with it. I like milkweed. That's who I am. And I think I have had butterflies in my yard, monarchs.
Yeah.
I think I have video of it actually. So in conclusion, right, we have solidarity forever, because you know I'm a union person. I think you're a union person.
If I had more options to be, let's get me somewhere. Let's get me in the union.
We'll get unionized.
Gardener.
And when we fight, we win.
Yeah.
Right? We do. So, and I also want to say, I want to thank Donnie Lombos from the Greater Boston Labor Council. We went to the Park Plaza last week for the Labor Day breakfast, and we had, I think the mayor of Boston was there. You know, Michelle Wu, and our governor was there. It was wonderful. They told us everything we wanted to hear, and I loved it, man. So I'm all about unions. I'm all about this. I enjoy doing it. Otherwise, why would we be here? Why would Greg be here? I want to thank Somerville Media Center, who is relocating from that beautiful building in Union Square. But we move on. It's a new chapter in our lives. We think we're going to be somewhere over near Somerville. And it's a great location. It's a very happening kind of place.
Yep.
And hopefully you'll come and visit us when we get that running.
Absolutely.
Well, I want to thank you very much, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Ed.
Tori
Thanks
Antonino.
for your interest.
This
is amazing. How many labor shows are doing pieces on pollinators and native plants?
Well, isn't it labor?
Yeah.
Yeah, but you love it.
I mean, it's a labor of love, but it's actual. This is a job, and it's a rewarding job, and a skilled one.
Well, you're making things better, and we appreciate it. And thank you very much for your time.
Okay, thank you very much.
Over and out. See you next time.